Put your back a little bit.
Hi guys. So I'm going to say a lot about this, but I think hopefully it will explain itself. So this is the cartoon version of the parable of the lost sheep.
Four? Five. I seem to have lost a sheep.
Hey dude, great game. We were on fire. Not only that, but when you helped the guy off the floor with a broken leg, that was so cool of you. Want to go shoot boots on Sunday? No thanks, I can't. I have church. Oh, what religion are you? Christian. I read the Bible. If that's the book for me, I read and pray and then obey the Bible. Woo! I guess that's why you have such a great personality. You are so helpful. Yeah. Can I come to church with you? Sure.
less than
Good job, Angel.
All right. Well, as you can see, we are in a new series this May, and our new series is called Storytime with Jesus. And we will be looking at 5 different parables. And who knows what a parable is?
A story got told to have the people who were teaching understand what he was saying.
A story got told so the people he was teaching could understand what he said. Good. Any other thoughts? Parable?
An earthly story with a spiritual meaning.
Earthly story with a spiritual meaning. Good. Anyone else? Good. If you look it up in the dictionary, short version is the story with a lesson, right? And Jesus gave a lot of these stories, and exactly what Emily said. Sometimes these stories were, sometimes they were easy to understand, and sometimes they were not easy to understand. But Jesus told these stories to his disciples and to the people that were following him. And so today we are talking about the parable of the lost sheep. So this is found in Luke 15, and it's also found in Matthew 18. I'm going to read you really quickly the version in Luke 15. It says, "Now the tax collectors and sinners were all gathering around to hear him." Him is who?
Jesus.
Right. But the Pharisees and the teachers of the law muttered, "This man welcomes sinners and eats with them." Then Jesus told them this parable. "Suppose one of you has 100 sheep and loses one of them. Does he not leave the 99 in the open country and go after the lost sheep until he finds it? And when he finds it, he joyfully puts it on his shoulders and goes home. Then he calls his friends and neighbors together and says, 'Rejoice with me, I have found my lost sheep.' I tell you that in the same way there will be more rejoicing in heaven over one sinner that repents than over 99 righteous persons who do not need to repent." So this is a short parable, and we just saw this awesome video about it, and so I thought the sheep looked like turtles. Did anyone else think that? They just have little ears.
Turtle.
I thought it
Don't
was
make fun of my
cute.
cartoon.
And so the parable of the lost sheep. Let me give you a little bit of background. It is the first of 3 in this series that we're going to look at, and we're going to look at the other 2 also. But this is about redemption, and I think this must be pretty important because Jesus tells 3 stories in a row, 3 parables in a row that have this theme. So the idea of shepherds and sheep kind of refers back to Ezekiel 34, and in the beginning of this chapter, Jesus is kind of reprimanding the shepherds of Israel, saying that they're not doing a good job of taking care of their sheep. In verse 11, he says, "For this is what the sovereign Lord says, I myself will search for my sheep and look after them. As a shepherd looks after his scattered flock, when he is with them, so will I look after my sheep. I will rescue them from all the places where they were scattered on a day of clouds and darkness." And then in verse 15 it says, "I myself will tend my sheep and have them lie down, declares the sovereign Lord. I will search for the lost and bring back the strays. I will bind up the injured and strengthen the weak, and but the sleek and strong I will destroy. I will shepherd the flock with justice." Does this sound kind of familiar? This is kind of a similar story to the one that we just heard, right, in Luke 15. And so Jesus takes on this characteristic of being a shepherd, right, and we are his sheep. There's also a passage that may be familiar to some of you, Psalm 23. Does anybody know what that says? "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not be in want," right? And it kind of repeats some of the same thoughts as in here. It says, "He makes me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside quiet waters, and he restores my soul." So Jesus is our good shepherd, right? And who are the sheep? We are the sheep. So we're talking about stories with a lesson, right? So this is a story about sheep and a shepherd. And the lesson that we can take from this is that it talks about Christ seeking love. So Jesus, who's the shepherd, goes out and seeks his sheep, right? Even when they wander away, he goes and finds them. And Christ's love pursues us, constantly pursues us. And another thing, as this video well showed, even when one little sheep wanders off, the shepherd left the rest of his flock together, right, and goes after the one. He values each and every one of his sheep, or in our case, people, right? Jesus Christ, our shepherd, values each and every one of us enough to pursue us, to constantly pursue us until we listen, right? So let's go back to the text. In the beginning of chapter 15, it says, "Now the tax collectors and sinners were all gathering around to hear him. But the Pharisees and the teachers of the law muttered, 'This man welcomes sinners and eats with them.' At the end of the parable, it says, 'I tell you that in the same way there will be more rejoicing in heaven over one sinner who repents over 99 righteous men,'" right? Because the righteous men don't need to repent, right? In Matthew 9:12 and 13, Jesus said, "It is not the healthy who need a doctor, right, but the sick, for I have not come to call the righteous, but the sinners." So Jesus is seeking out those who are lost, right? Just like the sheep has wandered off, Jesus seeks out the sinners, those who are lost. And the Pharisees are standing over here, and they're all hoity-toity, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, look at Jesus. What is he doing? Why is he hanging out with those people?" Right? And in our young adults group yesterday, we talked about some of the outcasts in our society, and any thoughts of who that might be, who people kind of like cringe away from, or they kind of like whisper about when they see them, or like if you see them coming towards you, kind of like walk away, cross the street, and go to the other side? Can you guys think of anybody who's kind of like that in our modern day society? Oh. Someone who's autistic, okay. Sometimes we don't understand how to relate to them, right?
In wheelchair or
Someone who has a physical handicap.
The people that are homeless.
Homelessness, right?
Crackhead.
Anyone else?
Crackhead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Druggies. Good. And these are the kind of people that in our modern day society were equivalent to these tax collectors and sinners, right? And the Pharisees thought they were all high and mighty, and then there's all these other people. But these are the people that Jesus chooses to hang out with. Why do you think that is?
Because they're the ones that need to be saved.
Exactly. They're the ones who need to be saved, right? So the lesson in here, the second lesson from this part talks about redemption, right? This is a story of redemption, how the lost are saved. And not just that the lost are saved, but they are welcomed, they are accepted, and they are celebrated, right? In this video, this little man, shepherd, runs back to the town, jumps on the fence, and he starts calling everybody out because he found his one sheep.
Except only one came out.
Yeah, just one. Peeked his head out, and people were probably like, "Why are you so excited? You have 99 other sheep," right? But this shepherd was compassionate, and he loved his sheep, right? Just as Jesus is compassionate and loves us. So I said that this is the first of 3 stories, right? So we're going to look at the second story really quickly. It's only a couple verses. It's right after this parable in Luke 15, verses 8 through 10, and this is the parable of the lost coin. And then, so Jesus just shared the story, and he says, "Or suppose a woman has 10 silver coins and loses one. Does she not light a lamp, sweep the house, and search carefully until she finds it? And when she finds it, she calls her friends and neighbors together and says, 'Rejoice with me, I have found my lost coin.' In the same way, I tell you, there is rejoicing in the presence of the angels of God over one sinner who repents." So very similar to the story we just heard about the lost sheep, that there is one that's lost. This woman goes and searches and searches and searches until she finds it, and she gathers everyone, and there's rejoicing in heaven with the angels over one who was lost, and now they're found. Right? This is so cool, because this is the whole entire gospel, right, in one little neat package, to seek and save the lost. We've talked about this before, but John 3:16. Who can quote it for me? Anyone, just say it.
For God so loved the world